Stories from the Messenger by Devolver Digital.
You have any stories to share? Of course, here's one for you. There once was a poor old lady who had nothing in life save for a small shack and a pear tree. Her name was Madame Misery. Her whole family ate misery, and sometimes there wasn't even enough misery to go around. One day, she was visited by a starving beggar who asked whether she had any food to spare. She didn't, but her heart was as big as her situation was unfortunate. So she served the beggar a few clumps out of the tasteless broth she had simmering, then invited him to help himself to a few pears. The beggar removed his cloak, revealing himself as a deity. He was disguised as a beggar to see whether there was any kindness left in the world. Touched by Madame Misery's generosity, he offered to grant her a wish. Let me guess, she didn't want anything that's immoral about living frugally? No, this is good, let me continue. She mentioned a lot of people were stealing her fruit to jeopardize her chance to eat every day. Her wish was simple, an enchantment on her pear tree so that it would trap anyone who stole from it until she decided to free them. The divine visitor granted her wish and took his leave. Time went by and she scolded many thieves, but soon realized that most of them were starving children. She decided to take it upon herself to feed and educate them, and soon became the pillar of a thriving new generation. Ever happy and generous, Madame Misery got so old that her face looked like an elephant's knee. And then one day, death came for her. Death, following the protocol, inquired about her last request. I'd like to eat one last pear from my tree. I'd like to eat one last pear from my tree, she said. Would you be kind enough to grab one for me? Death climbed into the tree to grab a pear, getting trapped in the process. The old lady decided to never let death out of the trap, and since then, there has been misery in the world. Oh wow, the end. Right? What's the moral? Being selfless justifies being selfish later? Generosity begets misery? I don't know, it's a fairy tale for kids. I just thought the idea of death trapped in a pear tree was interesting. Of course, here's one for you. There once was a king who had a pretty rough time managing his emotions. Experiencing nothing but extremes, he would always feel either too excited or too depressed, which caused him to never get anything done. Just as he was about to lose all hope of getting his life together and being a viable ruler for his people, he was visited by a traveling relic hunter. To rid the king of his woes, the relic hunter gave him a magic ring, promising it would make him sad when he is happy and happy when he is sad. It worked like a literal charm, and the kingdom became very prosperous as a result. When the king passed away, the castle's wizard promptly grabbed the ring to finally try and understand the source of its power. As it turned out, the ring wasn't magic at all. But how could a non-magic ring make you sad when you're happy and happy when you're sad? Any guess? Not really. It had a small inscription on it that read, "This too shall pass." Whoa, that's deep. It's more than deep, I just gave you the cure for anxiety through a fairy tale.
I think I finally cracked that code. You see, everyone has goals. So you think, oh, when I have this, I'll be happy. Or when I achieve that, I'll feel eternal bliss. Some people are looking for love or acceptance, while others simply hope for Devolver will sign their kick-ass game. From my perspective, sitting here at the end of time and being visited by countless travelers, I've came to realize something very important. Goals don't make people happy. They defer happiness into the future, so when the goal will be achieved, or to win. This can only fail because once you reach your goal, you're not the same person you were when you set out to achieve it. And what's more, your mindset is to chase something instead of enjoying what you have. So there you have it. Happiness is not a goal or a state, it's a system. You optimize your environment and cherry pick the people around you. So that every day you're just stoked to live your own life, and you don't need to defer any joys because you optimize the present moment.
Of course, here's one for you. There once was a servant who didn't know how to read. The day came where his master asked him to read something for her, to which he replied, "I'm sorry, milady, I can't read." That reply immediately got him fired. So he went out in the streets looking for a tea house to relax and accept the bad news. When he couldn't find any, he reckoned he probably wasn't the only one who wished there was a tea house in his small town, so he opened up his own. It really picked up, so he built many more and became rich in the process. One day, his accountant asked him to review a piece of document to which he replied he didn't know how to read. The accountant, who couldn't believe his ears, said, "If you became a millionaire without even knowing how to read, just imagine where you would be if you could read." "Oh, I know exactly where I would be," the rich man replied. "I would be a servant."